The purpose of this prototype is to test the AI behavior of the mutant organisms and bosses. The questions the prototype is trying to answer is, how should the mutant organism move in relation to the player? How should the boss move in relation to the player? And when should the boss shoot? For my contribution, I programmed the core movement of the bosses and the mutant organisms, and then afterwards I also added on the shooting mechanics of the boss. And because I needed to test if the shooting worked, I also coded the HP behavior of the objects in the game. The core mechanics being implemented in this prototype is movement of the enemies, collision, HP, shooting, and also AI behavior. For the player, if it is shot by a bullet from the enemy or it hits one of the enemy, its HP goes down. For the mutant organisms, they will move back and forth when the player is not near them. If the player is within a certain distance, the mutant organisms will move towards the player. And if the mutant organisms are hit by a bullet from the player, their HP will go down. And lastly, for the boss is also like the mutant organisms. It will move back and forth when the player is not near it, but it will move in response to the player when the player gets within a certain distance. Like if the player goes towards the boss, it will move backwards, and within that certain distance, it will also shoot the player. And same thing in this case, if the boss gets shot by the player, the boss's HP will go down. Throughout this whole prototyping process and programming the different scripts, I learned how an AI should move. At first, I didn't really understand. I was just trying random things. I was like randomly generating different numbers and correlating that to a movement, but that made the behavior too sporadic, and I realized that the AI should be moving in response to the player, but that made it more difficult, and there's a lot of complications there. In addition, I realized that I have a lot of leaks in situations that I forget to account for. For example, for the mutant organisms, like what if the mutant organism went off a ledge? How should it behave? And before it wasn't actually dropping because of the gravity. And then this ties into the fact that I had to learn a lot about physics in Unity in order for me to code and have the right behavior, such as colliders, angular and linear drag, and gravity. For example, the characters didn't register that the bullets were hitting them. Like the bullets needed colliders and a rigid body for the characters to actually know that there was an object there. In addition, I've realized that I need to have a lot of public variables just for adjusting, just because with HP, distance, fire rate, and having to adjust how fast the character should move, how high it should jump. Moving forward, I think it will be challenging to get the boss AI behavior right, because to make the boss seem realistic, like it's actually reacting to the player, it will be quite complicated to have the right motion and response, and it will take a lot of thought. As for the mutant organism's behavior, it is fine as it is right now, I think. It will probably need to be readjusted a little with distance and speed of movement. The boss, on the other hand, needs to respond to the player more. It shouldn't just move away from the player, since that makes the boss seem more defensive, and since it's a fight, there needs to be more interaction. In addition, the boss should be able to defend itself or be able to avoid the bullets. Right now, the boss just stands there getting hit when shot at, and this makes it too easy to defeat the boss. The player's bullet should stop after a certain distance. Right now, the boss only shoots when the player is within a certain distance, and the player can easily defeat the boss just by standing far away and shooting. So it helped to have the bullet stop after a certain distance. And in addition, the boss's distance threshold for shooting can also be increased to compensate for this.